All right. Awesome. We are ready to go. Feed should be starting up in a minute. Awesome. We are ready to go. Feed should be starting up in a minute. Hopefully this should be live on my Tumblr as well. One would hope, at least, because the YouTube link should be embeddable. So either you're watching this on YouTube or watching this on Tumblr or what have you. It's all completely the same. Wherever I embedded it, it totally works. I also did put it on the Facebook group as well, so you'll be able to get that, which is great. All right. As I said before, there is the chat window over to the side. Not sure if it's flipping my camera. Any questions that are on there, I will try to get to them. Again, this is only for an hour. It's only from 7 to 8 Central Time. So if for some reason I don't get to your question, whether it's in my Tumblr inbox or whether it's over on the chat window to the side, I will get to it on Tumblr. So look out for those posts. I got kind of a very full inbox very quickly. So I have some stuff, and then there's some stuff that's going to be kind of on the fly. So if I don't get to it, I do apologize immensely, and please look out on my blog for that being there. Anywho, I suppose we may as well start with introductions while people are tuning in and catching it. Of course, the introductions will happen like before 7, before everyone's tuning in, like the War of the Worlds, and everyone missed the first 10 minutes or what have you. I'm WindyCityTeacher, in case we have not met previously, of the WindyCityTeacher on Tumblr, or Windy, or Windiana Jones. I'm kidding, no one calls me that ever, actually, but it's a good time. And I am a Google Certified Educator, level 1 and level 2, as well as a Google Certified Trainer, which is huge for me. It allows me to get access to early features. I'm part of their early adopter program, part of their beta program for schools that I get to test like Google features before they come out, which is great. All sorts of different stuff. That Google Trainer was very hard one for me because it's not just a test like getting certified in the level 1 or level 2 educator. You actually have to submit a video of yourself as well as proof that you've done trainings previously. And so I uploaded the video of me doing a very quick demo of something, and my 8th graders found it, and they spliced it and they made a bunch of memes of it and everything like that. So I'm very proud of that Google Trainer badge because I earned it for all the memes that I got emailed. I am an 8th grade language arts teacher currently, which is huge because I feel like so many times tech is kind of regulated or kind of moved over to, oh, this is just STEM or what have you. I'm not a tech teacher. I don't have a degree in computer science, nothing like that. I'm an English language arts teacher who happens to have a real passion for it and giving teachers training and how to integrate it into their classrooms and all sorts of stuff, which is great. So that's important to me at any rate. So yes, I'm a Google certified trainer, and I teach 8th grade language arts here in the wonderful city of Chicago, in case WindyCityTeacher wasn't too blatantly obvious. And of course, I'm wearing my Colorado Red for Ed shirt. This is where they wore when I went down to the Capitol building and everything. So Red for Ed indeed, support it. But ultimately, we're about at that time. I figure we might as well get to some asks for all the people that are out there watching and what have you. Awesome. Should we get to it? I think that's a good idea. All right. So as I said earlier, you are asking questions through my Tumblr inbox, and I have put the link down below in the little comments. Luckily, I'm not going to start with what every other YouTuber starts with. Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, because I am not using this channel for that. Although maybe I should. Maybe I'll get some input on that on my Tumblr. So if you have a question in the moment that you'd like to ask, it's down here below. This is a completely free event, no sign up, no pay to play, none of that. If the spirit moves you, as I had a boss who liked to say all the time, to donate, I would absolutely appreciate it. And I have my Square Cash and my PayPal just below the read more on the YouTube video description, the live stream description as well. So totally up to you. Like I said, not required and what have you, but it is there. And then if you'd like to ask a follow-up question, you can do it in the chat window or in the description of the video below. So either way. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. I'm going to be jumping back and forth, just so you know, between my lovely face and screen sharing so I can actually show stuff in the moment. So if something gets lost in translation or buffering happens and the screen isn't as clear as it should be, feel free to say something in the chat window or below, and I can try to fix it or try to go back, let it load. But either way, staring at my pretty face all day doesn't seem to be particularly helpful when you're asking Google and G Suite for education related questions, right? All right, let's go ahead and get started. I am super excited to be here, and thank you so much for tuning in. That's awesome. Okay. There we go. Fantastic. Ooh, that's trippy, isn't it? Okay. So let me see some of the questions that we have for today. I'm going to be starting here at the bottom. The dawn is over asked, hey, do you have any advice/helpful links on using Google Sites for student portfolios? That's a good question. Let me blow this up a little bit. There we go. That's a great question. The new Google Sites is phenomenal for student portfolios. Let me show you how you get there. So when you originally go to sites.google.com, right, it'll probably take you here, right, to the old one, to the old version. Now, Google Sites for a very long time was awesome. It got the job done. It did what you needed it to do. Unfortunately, they are phasing it out, and soon you won't even be able to create sites in the old mode. You'll only be allowed to use the new one. So there's two ways to do this. You can either go to sites.google.com. Let me pause there, actually. Pro tip, that's the nomenclature for all of Google's tools. So anything you're trying to get to, especially while we're going through this live webinar event, anything we get to, if you need a Google Doc, it's docs.google.com. You need a new sheet, sheets.google.com, slides.google.com, forms.google.com, drawings.google.com, sites.google.com. That is their nomenclature for everything. Even their payment system, GPay that recently rolled out, pay.google.com. I mean, that's their entire nomenclature. If you're trying to get a new Google Doc and you got to do something really quickly, there's a fun tip where you enter docs.google.com or slides.google.com/create. And that link will instantly pull up a brand new clean document. As teachers, we're always trying to find shortcuts, and going to Google Drive and clicking new can take up a lot of time, obviously. So docs.google.com or sheets or slides or forms or drawings/create, and it'll pull up a brand new one, which is pretty cool. But let's get back to Google Sites for a moment. All right. So the new Google Sites, there's two ways to get there. You can either go to sites.google.com and then click the new Google Sites, which will take you to this one. And you'll know when you're in the new one because it'll have the banner across. It will match the theme and the kind of the material design that is evident in other Google products, right? And then there's this button down here, back to classic sites. You don't want classic sites. You want the new Google Sites, right? Or you can skip the middleman altogether and just go to sites.google.com/new. So that's totally up to you. So using Google Sites for student portfolios, first of all, I think is an amazing idea for a couple of different reasons. Number one, they're locked into your domain, right? They're locked into what your whatever your students and your shared email is, they're locked into it. So if you're concerned about privacy, if you're concerned about stuff getting out, or you're concerned about kids posting stuff on the internet, capital T, capital I, you don't have to worry about that as much because it is by default kind of in a gated community of your domain. You can choose to share it out if you'd like. The new Google site makes it very, very easy to add text boxes anywhere on the website. If you just double click, it'll pull up this cool little ring. You can also access some of the same stuff over here. You can insert text boxes, images. You can upload a lot of different files. And then anything from your drive you can imagine, docs, slides, sheets, forms, or charts from sheets when data has been analyzed, excuse me, or YouTube videos. You can even insert certain calendars or perfect for student portfolios. Anything that's in their Google Drive can be dropped on a Google website, which is awesome. My one caveat here, what's also kind of cool is you can duplicate websites. So when you have a Google site open, you go to create one, you can duplicate it. So if you create a version for yourself, if you create a template and then you duplicate it, you can do it that way. That's not the way I'm going to recommend, though, because that means you'll have to duplicate a site for every kid and then add them as a collaborator, as an editor, which can get kind of tedious and kind of time consuming. If you're a homeroom teacher with a really small amount of kids, that might be helpful for you. But for an 8th grade teacher who sees about 110 kids a day, that's not particularly helpful. Here's what I'm going to recommend. If your students have, if you are a G Suite district, they have access to the new Google Sites and they can get to it right from the drive. Let's look. So when you open up the drive, you see it as the new nomenclature, right? The new material design here, new, and then under more, Google Sites, right? They can create their own Google site right from their drive if they choose to. My recommendation would be this. I would have each of my students, and I did this when I was doing Genius Hour presentations. I can't show what this looks like specifically in the moment, but I can kind of describe it and then give clarification later. What I would do is I would have each kid create their own Google site that's stored, that they own, that's on their drive. And then I had a form that was first name, last name, topic, and then link to your website. And that form was connected to a spreadsheet that I dropped directly on my personal website, which was great. That allowed me to create this network very quickly of first name, last name, topic, website, and I was able to find exactly whose website I needed. It was great for assessment. It was great for students to see others, stuff like that. It kind of was a pseudo intranet in a way, but it was very, very successful. And it's what I'm going to recommend for student portfolios. A cool feature that's rolling out very soon, but isn't on most people's Google sites just yet, is the ability to do layouts. So soon, over on the right column, instead of just various tools like YouTube, calendar, etc., it will have layouts that you'll be able to drag and drop. So it'll have like picture frames that you can drop pictures onto with text, stuff like that. It's going to be perfect for students creating those student portfolios. But in the old days of Google Sites, you were able to create a template and then share that template, and then they were all still kind of local by you. The new Google Sites doesn't work that way. I suggest having them create it and then sending you the link in a Google form, and that can kind of connect everything. So I hope that makes sense. And then if you have any questions any further, yeah, please let me know. But that's what I'm going to recommend for the student portfolios. Awesome. Hello, Tokidoki teacher, Tokidoki? I hope so. But anyway, hi, long time no see. I'm glad you're able to join. Let us, shall we, take another look at Tumblr, find another question to answer, right? Awesome. Okay. I feel like I need that little graphic from Blue's Clues with the little mailbox, like mail time, right? No? Okay, just me. Fantastic. Allies Owned said, hi, I'm getting my Google Classrooms ready for the year, and I noticed that the About section is gone. I used to post items I wanted pinned there, like anchor charts or journal prompts for ease of access. Is it hiding somewhere new? If it's gone, how can I do something similar in the new Google Classroom? Google Classroom went over a ton of different changes over the summer, and they flipped the switch literally just last week. You can actually go read about it on their blog at blog.google, which is really cool. They have their own suffix, right, .google. You can read about the different changes, but the About page is kaput. It is gone, right? What they have now, and I'm going to show you what a new Google site will look like if you try to set it up. Here we go. You have 3 different tabs now. You have the stream, you have classwork, and you have people instead of students. So rather than going into the about section to find it, they kind of streamlined. If you have co-teachers, for example, it's streamlined where you can find all the people at once. And then if there are parent emails attached to students, you would find them under here as well. Classwork allows you to create different topics now, which you were able to do before, but it gives you a little bit more of a graphic interface to actually play around with and move around instead of just tagging it at the bottom. So here's what I would do in the new Google Classroom, right? The About section is gone, but there are situations where we might need long-term files, long-term folders to be sitting around. There's a very easy way to do that, and here's what I would do. I would create a topic of year-long files, shall we call it, right? Year-long files, or what have you. If you wanted to, and I know a lot of teachers that are doing this, are literally naming it the about topic. If that makes more sense for you, by all means, please do. That's not really what makes sense to me. For me, I'm going to be telling my kids, look, you can find it in the year-long files, right? I'm going to add that. And then you can add anything you need to that topic and then move other topics up or rename it, right? So let's say I'm creating another one for my poetry unit, right? That's another topic, okay? Now, if I want year-long student files to be down, or if I want the poetry to be the thing that's at the very, very top, because though that's the unit we're on, or those are the assignments we're on, I can just move it, right? Literally just move up, and then that becomes, and then year-long files, that's the way to guarantee that it stays at the bottom of the list, or what have you, right? The About section is gone, but you can add a topic to add those files and things that you would need to access and things that students would need to access all year round. What's really nice is these topics can be reordered. So let's say I can move this right back down if I want it. And it's nice for students to see how different assignments line up with different units and different titles. And it's nice for them to see the transition from one to the next. I'm really excited about this change, but the loss of an About page is definitely something that a lot of teachers are thinking about moving forward, but that's what I would recommend. Create a topic that's year-long files, or even if you wanted to name it About section or what have you, and then put all your stuff there if you wanted to, right? So once you create an assignment, you can still tag it the same way in year-long files, right? You can still attach everything the same way, attach a point value if you wanted to, although for year-long files, you probably wouldn't. So let's see here, we do reading log file, right? And then I would attach a file and then I would assign it and it would show up under the year-long files, or you could just attach them, right? If you wanted to attach it as a question, etc. The stream is now exclusively for announcements. It's kind of like Facebook in that way, where the announcements are posted. Students can post announcements if you have your settings, and then you can talk to them about that. It's currently in the process where it's pretty linear, it's pretty chronological. So I wouldn't recommend using the stream for posting these year-long files. I really would just make it a topic, and then every time you make a new topic, move it up to make sure year-long file stays at the bottom of your list. But that's a great question, and I know a lot of teachers are going to have it just in time for back to school. Thank you. All right. So we're going to check out another Tumblr Ask question, see if we can get to some stuff. Luckily, most of these questions have been pretty small in terms of like what's necessary or what's needed to answer. So that's great. Let's double check Tumblr. There we go. All right. Thank you so much for the question, Allie's Owned. Okay. Anonymous. Dope shades. All right. I mostly use Google Classroom as a repository of what we did in class, notes, handouts, etc. I'd like to up my game this year. What are the best ways to use Classroom? Oh boy, that is an incredibly large question, and I'm not super sure I have the best answer for that, even as a Google certified trainer. First of all, don't let anyone shame you for just using Google Classroom as a digital lockbox or as a digital file cabinet, right? That is how a majority of people started. That's how I started with Google tools and getting involved. I was tired of standing in line at the copy machine. I'm standing there and I'm grumpy and I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. You know what? I'm going to scan it. I'm going to make it a Google Doc and students will just do their work online, right? It came out of that moment of frustration that I think a lot of teachers end up having. And 2 years later, I'm a Google certified educator and trainer. So all that to say, not trying to brag, all that to say, don't let anyone shame you for using Google Classroom the way that you need it, right? There will always, always be someone selling a book or selling a speaking engagement or what have you that wants to tell you, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. Do what you can, right? Work your way up to what you need. There is no imaginary timeline that you are behind. So that's just something I wanted to get out of the way first, there's no version of how do I use it better? You use it the way you need it and then go from there. Google Classroom originally was just supposed to be a way for teachers to organize their Google Drives. They never really meant intentionally to create a learning management system, an LMS, but it kind of happened. And teachers have been asking more and more for those features to be added, stuff like that. So it's becoming more of an LMS. Originally, it was just kind of a pretty way to organize your students and your drive, right? So Google Classroom itself has even morphed from its early versions into what we have now. So don't let people tell you that people have been Google Classroom experts for years, because it's just not true. It hasn't been the same product that we have now. The best ways to use Google Classroom, I mean, number one would be as a digital lockbox or digital file cabinet. That's first and foremost, right? A way for you to organize your files for students to see and et cetera. And some of the other best ways to use Google Classroom, one, as a two, I guess, as a communication tool for parents. Google Classroom doesn't have any version of like, oh, the parents can sign in and like look at the Google Classroom. And I know that frustrates a lot of teachers. I love it, actually. I think it's great. Because the conversation that I have is parents will call me and they'll say, hey, what is my kid doing? Like, why is my kid having a poor grade in your class, et cetera? And I'm able to tell them, why don't you sit down next to your kid and ask them, like, why don't you have your kid sign into Google Classroom and show you what they're doing? And it's a great exercise, especially because I have 8th graders and we're learning that autonomy. We're learning that before we move on to high school kind of thing. They're able to build that with Google Classroom, and they're able to show their parents what they've accomplished and what they still need to work on, and et cetera. So a second great way to use it is as a parent communication tool, right? Put that stuff up there. Make sure everything you're doing in class is up there so parents know what's going on. And it saves you a lot of time from having to like build portfolios, or it can save you some time from like sending weekly newsletters or what have you, right? The third thing that I'm going to say is kind of a little off the wall. It's going to be a collaboration tool is primarily the best advantage, in my opinion, of Google Classroom. The best way to up your game is, as the Anon said, is to make Google Classroom the collaborative hub of your room and your lessons. I don't give kids, very seldom do I give kids individual documents for them to work on. I give one slide deck and I say, okay, every kid needs to add a slide. Or, okay, we have 6 groups, each group needs to add a slide. And they're able to get up and they're able to move around the room and they're able to do that kind of stuff that wasn't possible. That's not possible with pen and paper, first of all. And it's also a way for them to see each other's work, and it builds that community of learners over groups of kids just trying to get the right answer, or groups of kids that are just trying to get the work done so it can be done, right? Let me show you specifically what I'm talking about when I talk about like whole classroom collaboration, because that can be a little bit confusing. But if you want to up your game, that's the way to do it, because it will fundamentally change the kinds of lessons that you're able to create. So here we have the topic from the earlier question, poetry, right? Let's do this. Now, let's say I want each kid to create their own poem or to analyze their own poem, right? So, or I'll have groups, right? So let's say I have 6 groups and I want them each to. I don't want to create 6 different slide decks. That's just creating more work for me. It's going to be a pain. So what I do is I can create, right, an assignment. Ideally, you'll already have the Google slide in your, like ready to go in your drive. So let's just upload a random slide deck that I have. The sharing settings is exactly what I wanted to highlight. There are 3 settings on these files. Students can view, students can edit, or make a copy for each student. There are some things that you need to make a copy for each student. You just can't get around it. It's school. Sometimes every kid needs their own copy of whatever you're doing. But a lot of the time, but that also creates a copy of, for every student that you then have to go back and look at and assess. That's a massive pile of paperwork. What I prefer to do, and what can up your game, is you set it to students can edit file. This allows every student that's in that class all editing one slide deck at once. That's huge. Kids can do it from across the room. They don't even have to move, or they can choose to group up, and then they're able to see other work that happens. What's great for me is I'll open up Google Slides, slides.google.com, and I'll display on the board. Right, let's do G Suite in the Writing Workshop. It's one of my favorite workshops. I go down here, instead of looking at it like this with all the students working on the different slides, I switch it to grid view and I display this kind of view up on the board so that I can see in real time what different students are doing, and the kids themselves can see what they're doing with each other's work or with their own work, and they can kind of guess and check and like talk it out. It's a level of collaboration that just isn't as possible with pen and paper. Anyway, in short, using it as a collaboration tool is crucial, and I think the biggest advantage of Google Classroom. Set this up so that they're all working on one document and then let them go. And you'll be amazed the kind of community that can get built and the kind of progress that students can make when they're working in tandem with each other instead of against each other or against the clock, which is great. So, but again, don't let anyone tell you that you're not doing enough, right? The people who are telling you that you aren't doing enough with Google tools are usually the people who are invested in selling you something like a talk or a book or a conference or something like that. Do what you need, and the resources are there from Google, from other educators. Check out their teacher center, full of different resources that you can use, and learn it at your own pace. There's no need to do everything all at once. Absolutely not. Gonna check in. All right, don't have any new chat windows. That's quite all right. Let's say we jump to another Tumblr question, shall we? We're actually making excellent time. I don't think I'm going to get to all the questions, actually, but I'm going to try my best, right? Okay. There we go. That really is trippy when it does that, when it like the forever window. Okay, so let's see here. I have never known how to pronounce this Tumblr user, and I feel terrible because we have been EduChums forever. So I am not even going to try to pronounce it, but it was really nice seeing their username in my inbox, which is great. If you had to pick one Google Keep trick to share, what would it be? Oh man, Google Keep. Google Keep is probably my favorite Google tool, especially right now. I mean, I like my Google Home, but is that as a tool as much? Debatable. Google Keep is amazing. If I had to pick one Google Keep trick, you know what? Here's the one I would share. You can get the Google Keep like everything else at keep.google.com. And a lot of people don't know about this because you can't get to it from your main drive. So you can't go to like your drive and click new and create a new file. It doesn't work that way. So there's no Google Keep on here, right? That's not an option. So if you go to keep.google.com, it is an online corkboard for all of your different Post-it notes and all your different stuff. All of your alerts, stuff like that. I use it to close the tabs in my brain. Rather than try to remember all of the information all at once that we as teachers have to, I put it on Google Keep. There's a mobile app for iOS and Android, and there's the web app, which you're seeing right now in this video. I put it on Google Keep. I put everything on Google Keep. I tell people that if I don't write it down, it's not happening, right? And I put everything on here, set it with reminders. I organize it by color, what have you. Oh man, the question asked, what was my one Google Keep trick to share? Oh, that's tough. Okay, my favorite Google Keep trick, and you can do a whole lot. You can do checkboxes, you can upload images, etc. My favorite is probably this. Let's see here. So this is a page that I took just out of a Roth IRA notebook. You see at the top, large cap value fund, right? I took a picture of this page with my regular phone camera, and I uploaded it to Google Keep, the app on my iOS device. So here it is. It's uploaded to my account. Now, I can't really do a lot with this information once this picture has been uploaded. But here at the bottom, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this. There we go. Here at the bottom, you see this three-dot menu, right? You'll have a couple of different options. All I did was take a picture of it, and you see how small the font is, right? You see how much is on this page. Under the three-dot menu, if you ever upload a picture to Google Keep and it senses that there are words on it, it will say grab image text. Watch this. Image text grabbed. Let's zoom out a little bit for better view. It has now placed that text directly below so that you can copy and paste it to whatever you need. You can also extract this picture to a Google Doc. So if I go to the triple dot menu again and I click copy to Google Doc, it'll copy it to its own document so that I can go and actually format the information. You can keep the picture if you'd like, but from here, I can go format this into the table that I need. It's not perfect, and the formatting on the Google Keep note is kind of a disaster sometimes, but that's amazing. People pay hundreds of dollars for software that will do that, and Google Keep does it absolutely for free. My main use for this is handouts that we get at the beginning of the year. You'll get a handout at the beginning of the year about some new initiative or some new tool, and then whoever handed it to you won't mention it again until like March. And you have to remember, oh shucks, I have to remember the information on there. I take a picture of the handout, I place the text here, and then later I'm able to go search it at any time. So if I come into a training or if I know that, hey, we're going to be talking about this new initiative, I can go and search a word. So I know that this page was called Large Cap Value Fund. I searched for the word cap here, and it brought it right up. I was able to look at the handout. You're going to look like a genius in PD meetings throughout the year. That is my one Google Keep trick that I would talk about. Three-dot menu, grab image text. It's a lifesaver. All right, let's go back to the inbox, mail time, as they say. All right. Superbly salty hobbit. What is that picture? What is that dog? That's awesome. Super Salty Hobbit says, what's your favorite color? Well, that's not particularly like Google related, but I'll take it, sure. My favorite color is orange, in case anyone was curious. And like not like a nice like burnt or rustic orange, like bright neon, like traffic cone orange. And that's because when I was in 7th grade, I dyed my hair that color. So if you want to imagine, I looked like the Human Torch. Like I looked like I was on fire. But I thought it was so sick when I was in 7th grade. It was amazing. But yeah, anyway, bright orange. But that's not particularly Google, so we're going to move on. But I appreciate it. That was fun. All right. Working our way up. Oh, haha, it's still looking at my beautiful face, isn't it? There we go. All right. Hey, Tokidoki Teacher. Awesome. I'm so glad we were able to get to some of your asks. For tonight's Q&A, question 1. Oh, we have 2 questions. All right, let's tackle question 1. What is a good strategy to introduce other teachers in my team to new tech? What is a good strategy to introduce other teachers on my team to new tech? That is a toughie. That's a tough nut to crack for a number of reasons. There's a lot of clickbaity articles about how teachers fall into 4 categories or 3 categories or whatever. And so basically you have teachers who either love it, hate it, but most are kind of in between, right? Very rarely do you find teachers who are like, no, electricity is bad and Thomas Edison was a witch, right? You never find people who say that. You have a lot of teachers who are super gung-ho for it. You have teachers who, you have a handful that are and then most are kind of squarely in the middle. My first recommendation would be to get as much feedback from them as possible about what their actual needs are. As a Google trainer, I have made that mistake about a half a dozen times where I have forgotten to get that input when we first started. And so I'll start my beautiful, meticulous set of slides about the best and the brightest Google tools and stuff like this. And my audience will be sitting there like, we don't even have Chromebooks on a daily basis. Like, you didn't check with us to see. So number 1, talk to your stakeholders, talk to the teachers on your team and find out what their needs actually are, and then figure out how you can work with that need, or how you can answer that problem, or how you can be a solution for whatever issues might be plaguing your teammates. That's going to be a lot better than shoving anything else down their throats, at least in my experience as a trainer. And I've done 2 people online workshops, and I've done 100 people filled auditoriums. And whatever size you do, get input first. Even if it's something as simple as like what grades do you teach? Or what subjects do you teach, right? Those are very easy. But because you actually know the people that you're talking about because they're on your team, what I would really recommend is getting that input, internalizing it, and then become a problem solver as opposed to something else on my plate. And it's easy to do. And I am in no way mocking teachers or educators that like struggle integrating new technology, right? I can't code to save my life. I've tried the everyone can code curriculum and I love it, right? But it's a bit of a struggle for me. And that's just an area where like I personally kind of bristle, right? So I'm in no way making a judgment call. Get that input, fulfill the solutions that you can, right? And that's going to make people a lot more pliable. It's going to make people a lot more open to your message. The second thing I would recommend, and this is something that I do start a majority of my Google trainings with, Google will not make you a better teacher. It won't. There's no software to replace teachers, right? Because if there were, we'd probably have districts replacing us all over the nation. I tell teachers that, and educators and people that I work with, participants in my workshops, I tell them that I can show them how to do stuff differently if that's something that they're interested in. And that approach might be helpful even when you're talking to your colleagues. Look, I'm not showing you something new. I'm not showing you something additional to what you're doing. I'm trying to solve either your problem or I'm trying to move forward in that way. That's what I would recommend in terms of like introducing teachers to new tech. And then obviously giving them as much leeway as possible. There's nothing worse than being, number one, forced to use something, and then also being forced to use something on a schedule, right? Introduce something and then walk away, right? Which can be tough, but that'd be my other. Give your colleagues the space to either sink or swim and then come in and help in that way. Let's double check. I already forgot question 2. I feel bad. All right, question 2 from WindyCityTeacher, which is honestly just fun to say. I'm just gonna keep doing it. I can't get over this dog. I cannot stop staring at this picture of this dog. I want to snuggle this dog forever. I love him so much. Superbly salty hobbit. Please dog for him. Okay, question 2. Getting distracted. In Google Calendar, is it useful to use the working hours section? That's a good point. I can't show that because I don't have an education demo right at this exact moment. I'm still working on getting that account set up. And it's not on the personal accounts yet. It would only be on G Suite for Education or G Suite for Work, G Suite for Government, etc. So I can't demo it on Google Calendar. It really depends on, number one, your personal goals of work-life balance. For anyone who's watching who doesn't know specifically what she's talking about, WindyCityTeacher, you can set on Google Calendar working hours and then hours that you're not working. So if someone tries to make an appointment or set a meeting with you and it's outside of your working hours, it will automatically decline it, right? And it will tell the other person, I'm sorry, this is outside of my working hours. There is a post about it on blog.google.com if you wanted to run by and take a look, but I'm not going to show you screenshots of a blog that you, the viewers, can easily look up yourselves, right? So that's kind of hit and miss. Number one, what are your goals for your personal work life, right? If you're walking out of school at 8 p.m. every night, first of all, why? But secondly, that might be helpful for you to set those hours and be like, no, you know what? I am done working at 5 o'clock or what have you, right? I can see that being very, very helpful for non-teachers. There are places, especially corporate places, where if you have your BlackBerry or you have your work phone, you're on call 24/7. And I can see that being very helpful for people to demarcate their time, right? To make sure that they're actually spending it wisely, etc. For teachers, we do have a little bit of before, we do have a little bit of after. You can set your work hours for that. I'm not sure if it's exceedingly helpful. But again, my personal goals are not making sure I spend adequate time at home as well as, like, I'm personally, I have a pretty decent balance. So I don't need to set that up. I can see teachers that would need to set it up, but ultimately it's up to you. It's kind of like a food tracker on your phone, right? You still have to input the food. So even if you set up your working hours, okay, I am done at 5 o'clock. You cannot set a meeting with me after 5 o'clock. You still have to leave the building after 5 o'clock, right? So it's kind of a hit and miss in usefulness. I'm glad they added it, absolutely. But I don't hear a lot of horror stories of principals trying to call up teachers at 10 o'clock at night. If that is you and you're one of the viewers watching this being like, yeah, my principal tries to call me all the time. Yeah, yikes. Definitely set that up. Definitely set up those working hours so that you don't get roped into invitations. But at least in my experience, after a certain time or after you leave the building, a lot of stuff is kind of done through email, and email is asynchronous. You can ignore it when you want, etc. All right, let's head back. Thank you so much, WindyCityTeacher. Questions were great. Oh, I'm seeing a bunch of the comments on the side, which is great. You know, yeah, I would wait and see on the school year and see how it goes, right? Okay, back to the inbox. Oh, the dog's gonna. No, I still have the dog for one more. Yes. Okay. So, Anonymous asked, I don't understand why this would be anonymous. Wouldn't you want this to be, I don't know, whatever. What is the #1 Google feature I should incorporate into my 9th grade ELA class this upcoming school year? One, you're going to give me one? What is the #1 top tool? I have 30 I could give you. especially because 8th grade ELA, 9th grade ELA, they're very, very close, right? Actually, fun fact, my fiance teaches 9th grade ELA. So we're constantly talking about how similar the grades are, but yet how there's that ocean between them when they end up moving to another building. 9th grade ELA, what is the #1 Google tool? I mean, #1, that's so tough. Like everything in G Suite's amazing. You know what I'm going to say, actually, and this is going to seem like kind of a cop-out answer. I'm going to say Google Keep, actually, for an ELA 9th grade classroom. You're getting your students involved in doing research and saving your evidence and stuff like this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to switch screens in a moment. All right. So Google Keep, let's delete that. Come on now. Why use Google Keep in an ELA classroom? It's a simple question, right? With a lot of very complex answers. In 9th grade, there is kind of that additional shift towards incorporating evidence in a different way, or at least being a lot more specific about it. And so you're going to have your students writing more analytical essays, stuff like that. The focus kind of shifts, I feel like, from narrative writing into analytical or research-based, right? Now, back in my day, which makes me sound very old, I would have to do note cards, and my teachers made me do note cards, and I had to write the source in MLA, and then I had to color code the corner, and then I had to write the evidence, and then I had to keep all of my evidence, and then I could lay out my essay later and stuff like that. And heaven forbid if you were one of the kids who lost the little plastic box the day before the essay was due, like I did. If you're in a 9th grade ELA classroom, your students are doing that research and saving bits of information. I already showed off the ability to scan pages. That is crucial for my 8th graders when they're doing paper research or they're doing research in books or magazines or periodicals. They don't have to retype the whole quote. They take a picture of the page with their phone and it pulls the text off for them. But also they can label different notes in Google Keep, which is how I have them use it. If you see over on the left side of the page, right? There we go. You can see the different labels that I have, right? Counterclaim, evidence, introduction. I have my kids do that in the same way so that as they're building their essays, as they're looking up their research, everything gets saved on the phone or on their computer, and it's all backed up to the cloud on Google Keep. So if I want to combine, I want to have that writing conference with that kid, and I say, hey, look, pull up everything you've got for paragraph 1. They click paragraph 1, and they show me, oh, look, here's what I was thinking for my introduction for paragraph 1. And here's what I have for my counterclaim in paragraph 1, right? Or I could ask, hey, show me all of your teal notes, right? And you see up here it says paragraph 1. So it's showing which label is being searched. In the 21st century, we don't have to torture kids with 3x5 note cards anymore when we're arranging our evidence. We can do it here, right? We can organize it by color. We can organize it by label, what have you. It doesn't matter, right? When I showed it to my 8th graders, the first thing they wanted to do was change the colors of all the notes, right? So they pull this up, they click the little palette, they go, ooh, I want this one to be purple, or I want this one to be yellow, I want this one to be blue, right? Which was great. Okay, fine. However, while that is a little bit silly, you are able to search by color later. So I did have kids who marked all of their evidence on red Post-it notes, or they marked all of their counterclaims on purple Post-it notes, what have you. And then when you go to search, you can see that you can search for all of your notes. Show me only my red notes, right? Or show me all of my purple notes, right? I only have one purple one. If you're in a 9th grade ELA classroom, the best tool for you to use to get students in the mindset of doing longer form, more analytical, more evidence-based writing is Google Keep, hands down. One last note about that. If you have kids with essay anxiety, which is huge, I had kids who would come up, hey, Mr. Windy City Teacher, I can't write a whole essay, right? I can't do it. And I'll say, oh, yeah, calm down. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just write your first paragraph, and I want you to tag it with the label paragraph 1, right? And then I want you to just write it out, okay? So they would write out the different paragraphs slowly and in chunks. So then they would have different notes with different parts of their essay. So here's our original Google Keep document. I'm going to clear all this out. And they would look at this big, scary blank document of, oh man, I can't write this essay. I don't have the ability. I'm not a good writer, etc. And I would say, no, calm down. How many paragraphs? How many notes do you have, right? They say, I don't know, a couple. Cool. In Google Docs, under Tools, you can click Keep Notepad, and it will pull up all the notes, right? So my kids would pull it up, and they would have it a note with their paragraph 1 and their paragraph 2, and they would take it and they would drag and drop right onto it, which is huge, right? Let me show you, okay? This was so big for my kids because they were able to move these notes individually. What a differentiation move for your 9th graders who are scared about writing long form. My kids were amazed that they were able to do that much writing once they pulled it all over paragraph by paragraph. And that's, again, under Tools in Keep Notepad. It is a great differentiation move, and it is a great culture move if you're trying to develop students into being readers and writers for life. Highly recommend it. All right. So yeah, the #1 Google feature, Google Keep, and labels is what I would recommend. But seriously, I have like 1,000 that I could mention. The big one would be Tour Creator also, which would be fun. All right. Anonymous again. I wonder if this is the same anon or different anons. All right. What new tech are you most excited to try in your classroom this year? This was one of the asks that I got right as this live stream started. What new tech are you most excited to try in your classroom this year? Well, let's see here. I have been using Classcraft for quite a while. If you're not familiar, it's kind of like Class Dojo in a way, although I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate the comparison. But instead of like little goblins or creatures or what have you, which do not work for my 8th graders because they're too cool for everything, Classcraft has like World of Warcraft style characters. So like kids can be mages or healers or warriors. And they can use powers in class, and like their better behavior gets rewarded, and their less than stellar behavior has negative consequences for not just them, but also their team and their class. That's great to use, which I particularly love. I use Classcraft every year. I was really bad at it when I first started, by the way. Please, when you sign, like if you do choose to sign up for Classcraft, do not get discouraged in the early days. It's very easy to be like, oh, this is too much. Like I can't be choosing powers and all this, and yada, yada, it's not happening. Classcraft did just introduce a new feature called Quests, which not new, about 6 months. But I am kind of excited to try it out, especially because it integrates very nicely with Google Classroom and Google Drive. So I'm kind of stoked to play around with that. Flipgrid has recently become free because Microsoft purchased it. So it is now free for everybody. I did pay for a subscription the first year, so I had like a slight twinge of, but that's okay. Microsoft's doing a great thing. I'm super glad that Flipgrid will now be open, and it's getting new features for more collaboration across the globe and stuff like that. So I am excited to integrate Flipgrid into my classroom. I was looking originally into doing some kind of micro-credentialing and badging in my class. I don't think I'm going to get to it this year. I think I'm going to need some more time to lay some groundwork, but I was going to use Badger.io, BADGR.io, to introduce badges and micro-credentials in my class. mostly for an independence move. So the kids wouldn't just say, oh, I'm an A student, I'm a B student, or what have you. They'd be able to say, hey, look, here are the skills that I have mastered. Here are the ones that are still in progress, etc. Kind of a move for my competency-based or mastery-based grading. So those are 3 right off the top, and none of those are like particularly new that I haven't tried out. I mean, the new Google Classroom is pretty fun. I guess my other answer would be Tour Creator, which is pretty new. Let me show that off for a second. I'm going to switch the view. So Tour Creator, Google has been getting very big into like VR and stuff like that. So if you go to Tour Creator, I should have put in, it looks like this. And you can create your own 360 tours, which is really cool. So if you click Get Started, now this is one that I've already started where we were exploring the Art Institute. If it's on Google Maps as a 360 photo, you can incorporate it, or you can take your own 360 pictures with your phone and incorporate them. And it allows you to build essentially kind of like Google Cardboard expeditions in a way. And students have access to this as well. Of course, it's not going to load now because I'm on a live stream. Okay, excellent. So you can have these different scenes, right? So here I have room 1. It's a scene that you can kind of look around. Of course, I got to do the art museum because of not just Chicago, but Ferris Bueller as well. So you can set these little dots and these little targets, right? By adding a point of interest, which is cool. So as kids are looking around, whether it's on a Google Cardboard or whether it's in the web app or what have you, you're able to point out specific stuff in the moment, which is great. And then you can edit what it says, right? So if a kid looks at it, a little pop-up will come up saying this is a painting. It was probably painted by someone important. I was doing this very quickly when I first started. What's also kind of cool is you can add narration to make these lessons, or if you're walking students through a particular place, you can give them specific narration that you record, or you can add what's called ambient audio. Right now, you have to have the files, but there are dozens of free noise websites. Like they used to be WAV files back in the day. I don't think they do that anymore. It's probably OGG or MP3. But you can download ambient audio of like a coffee shop, or in this case, I would probably find one of like a crowd hustling and bustling, right? So kids can feel like they're there. Whoever is taking this tour can feel like they're there. The Tour Creator is amazing. And like I said, any 360 pictures that are on Google Maps already can be integrated, or with the Google camera, you can take your own 360 photos and upload them right away. I'm really excited if I go on vacation, or I'm going to my college later this year for a presentation, and I'm excited to get some of these 360 videos that I can then bring back to the kids, and they can like look around the quad or look around the cafeteria or what have you. It's very cool, and I'm very excited to introduce this new tool into my classroom, Tour Creator. You can get to it poly.google.com/creator/tours, or you can just obviously Google or search Tour Creator. Poly, by the way, is their kind of their world for 3D, right? So it has a ton of different stuff that you can look at if you're not making something. There's also a lot of different 3D diagrams and 3D tours and stuff like that that you can create. So maybe check just the Poly website and see if someone else has already created what you're looking for, which is pretty cool. Let me close that. Ooh, what is that? Oh, that's weird. I'm getting like a hissing. Oh, haha, it's the fan on the back of my laptop. Whew, that was scary. Okay, sorry about that. I heard just a hissing sound all of a sudden. I thought someone had lit a firecracker under my chair or something. Okay, let us return. What is the new tech you're most excited to try in your classroom this year? Let us return to the mailbox. Ooh, I have a new one. Damn, Windy, you fine as hell. Okay, which one of you was this? Ridiculous. This is why we can't have nice things, edu-chums. Come on. Okay. Tokidoki Teacher asked, can you use Google Sites to share information with parents who may not have a Gmail account for early elementary? I'm teaching kinder. The students themselves won't be using Google Sites, but it looks nice to set up, and I'd love to use it. Tokidoki Teacher, great freaking question. Yes, you can, if you want, bump out Google Sites to a general population. Let me show you how to do it. So remember our google.com. Did we forget something? Yes, we did. /new. Was that enough like a Nick at Night or a Nickelodeon show? Okay. So here's your website. Fantastic. You're putting all your stuff on it. Ooh, I'm going to drop a calendar. Sure, why not? Okay, cool. I'm going to drop a calendar. Neat. And I'm going to drop a text box. Double click. Neat. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to make that bold. Ooh, yay. Right. Received a message. Get out of here. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so here is our classroom website, right? When you publish, you have a couple of different options, right? Who can view my site? And then you can manage that. You can change it to specific people, or you can change it to anyone can find and view the published version, right? It can go online. Sites.google.com/view, right? It is totally up to you what level of privacy you want, right? Either anyone can find it, or you can change it to only specific people can find it, right? Which is awesome. And then you can invite people. And when you invite them, you can either select that, hey, this person, let's say I wanted to do teacher, WindyCity, and I wanted to add them, I can add them to edit the page, or I can add them to view published, right? I can add them as one of the people just who can look at the website. Parents do not need a Gmail. Parents do not need anything like that. You can publish it publicly if you want. You just have to make sure your sharing permissions are set correctly, right? All right. Hopefully that answered the question. I'm going to check out. Cool. All right. Tokidoki Teacher, you're keeping me alive in these comments over here. I'm loving it. Okay. Let's head back to the mailbox, shall we say. Have you seen a great tool for students to discuss current events in a collaborative fashion from AB Coconut or ABC Coconut, which would be stranger? Have you seen a great tool for students to discuss current events in a collaborative fashion? Man, again, it's more like there's a dozen different tools, but what are you attempting to get at? I see this as kind of a two-step sort of answer, and it's not stuff that I'm going to demo at the moment because it's not all directly Google related. It seems like a two-step problem. Step one, where are you getting these current events from, right? Are you doing the CNN 10 student news? Are you doing Newsella? Are you doing like Think Circa? Like where are you getting the current events from, right? And that's a big thing. Common Lit has some stuff as well. It's not really focused on current events, but it does have some like additional materials behind some of their like units and stuff like that. I use a lot of their stuff for the Ray Bradbury story, All Summer in a Day. And like they have a 30-minute like movie version of it. It's kind of cool. Anyway, Common Lit, go check it out. It's free. So first of all, where are you getting the current events? That's huge. Secondly, when you say that they're discussing them, right? Discussing in a classroom setting can mean different things, and that's what's kind of tough. That's what's kind of weird. Discussion can be writing about it. Discussion can literally be in a whole class discussion. You could do something asynchronous, which would kind of be not in the moment. If we're talking Google, right? If we're talking Google, you could, on Google Classroom, set it up as a comment in the stream, right? Let's take a look. So you can attach the article. There we go. Let's go to Google Classroom. Awesome. Ask bad class. Yeah. Okay. So you can create you should have been able to create a question, right? So create a question. And instead of students can reply to each other, instead of multiple choice, you make it short answer, right? Students can edit their answers and students can reply to each other, right? So here you could put current event article number 1, right? You are required to respond to at least one student. I don't know specifically what you would need to set up as your particular classroom protocol. And then you can just add the article, whether it's from Newsella, whether it's a link, what have you, whatever material would be, you could attach it. And then students would be able to comment under it, right? So that's going to show up in the stream, right? Got it. And so you would be able to see different students' comments here. They would see it as the student. They would see it almost as like a Facebook post where there would be the question at the top, and then they would be responding to each other, making comments, and then sub-comments under it and stuff like that. That would be a great way to increase that collaborative piece and increase that discussion of different things. But that would be kind of what I'm thinking of. Oh, hey, there we go. So that's what I mean when I say that sounds kind of like a two-part question. Discussion can mean different things. Do you want them to do a Padlet where they're doing something kind of similar? Do you want them to do discussion can mean different things. Do you want them to do a Flipgrid board where like different students would respond, and then you could set one up as like a Spark response that other students would respond to? Discussion as a verb, or to discuss as a verb, is a very large kind of topic, and there's no perfect tool for it. But if we're talking Google, right, what I would recommend is adding the current event and then having students use that scrolling comment feature where they can both edit themselves and also respond to each other, and that acts as an asynchronous kind of form of communication. If you're doing it in a classroom discussion, you need to use some sort of back channel. Today's Meet or Padlet was good for that for a while. Let me see here, other back channels. You could set up Socrative in a way with like open channels. You could open a Google Hangouts chat and just keep that open if your domain administrator has that open. It's kind of up to you. But that's kind of a difficult question to nail, but it's a great question, and it's something that a lot of teachers are definitely dealing with, so thank you. I appreciate it. All right, let us return to the inbox, although to be fair, I think we're out of time. Oh, we are out of time. Goodness. Okay. Too big of a question. I should have clarified, and I don't have a YouTube channel. That's okay. We'll be hosting Socratic seminars to actually discuss the current events, but we've had problems with students not choosing high-quality sources or sources that have limited relevance to other areas of the curriculum. The Ask box looks like an awesome way to start filtering sources in advance. Oh, awesome. ABC, AB Coconut. I'm so glad that worked out for you. And, of course, you can find me on Tumblr, right? You know what's going on, so that's awesome. Although, to be fair, we are out of time. Thank you so much. I've been trying to intentionally hide the viewer count so I can't see. But thank you. This has been great. I've really loved the conversation that's been happening in the chat window. I've been kind of jumping back and forth. And I'm so glad that we were able to get to all the questions, which is great. If you have any further questions, you know where the link is, right? WindyCityTeacher.tumblr.com/ask. And you can find me there, etc. And if you, like I said, felt compelled to donate to anyone who may or may not be watching, there is the donation links below the read more. I may or may not be splicing up this video to be kind of answering the questions on Tumblr as it went through. I hope you got a lot out of this, and like I received a lot of Google information right before the school year starts. And like I said, you know where to find me as WindyCityTeacher on Tumblr. If you didn't get your question asked, or if I glossed over something, you'd like a little bit more specificity or what have you. But thank you so much for sharing your evening with me. This was a great time. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. So thank you very much, EduChums, and anyone else who may have been signing in. You have a wonderful evening from your favorite neighborhood certified Google trainer.